Police violence in America is a complex issue with a deep and troubling past. A young black male today is 21 times more likely to be killed by police than a young white male. And because of a legal doctrine called qualified immunity, in 99% of police killings, the officer is never charged with a crime. To understand this problem better, we need to take a closer look at how we got here. First, we all need to understand that historically speaking, the black community has never really had a reason to trust in the police. Let's visit colonial America in the early 1700s. As the number of enslaved people grew in the South, many slave owners realized that they were vastly outnumbered. Fearing a revolt, they needed a way to prevent an overthrow or mass escapes. This fear led to the creation of slave patrols. Slave patrols were essentially unofficial groups of armed white men tasked with policing enslaved people and preventing them from rebelling or escaping. These slave patrols had the power to beat and whip people who were non-compliant with zero accountability or oversight. As the use of slavery spread over the next 100 years, so did the use of slave patrols. Now we arrive at the Civil War. The Confederacy loses and slavery is no longer legal. With slave patrols officially dismantled, former militias and organizations like the KKK stepped in to fill the void. After all, someone needed to police the large number of black people who were previously enslaved. As states adopted segregation and Jim Crow laws, these old slave patrol structures morphed into official police organizations now in charge of policing the black community. Over the following century, we see many examples of police either participating in violence towards black Americans or turning a blind eye to it. From the end of the Civil War until about 1950, there were over 4,000 public lynchings of black Americans in almost every state in the country, and police departments would often ignore these public executions. In 1921, there was the Black Wall Street Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where an angry mob killed as many as 300 black business owners and burned down entire blocks of black-owned businesses. In the 1940s and 50s, there was a black neighborhood in Birmingham, Alabama that was bombed so frequently by white supremacists that people nicknamed it Dynamite Hill. Events like these and many others helped to promote the idea in the black community that the police did not exist to protect them. When we fast forward through the civil rights movement of the 1960s, the war on crime that racially targeted minorities through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the current militarization of police departments that seem to have zero accountability or oversight, black communities still see no reason to trust in these police structures. From 2015 to today, black Americans have been killed by police at more than twice the rate of white Americans. According to Pew Research, 84% of black Americans feel they're not treated fairly by the police. Likewise, only 56% of police officers say that their relationships with the black communities they serve is good or excellent. That's compared to 91% for white communities. So what can you do? First, we must acknowledge that there are many police officers and police departments trying their best to tackle these systemic problems from within. These voices should be encouraged, supported, and amplified. And police unions that block reform should be called out. Second, we must support efforts to reallocate police funds into programs that address the underlying causes of social instability. New York City, for example, spends more on policing than homeless services, health services, and youth and community development combined. Like Chris Rock says, some jobs can't have bad apples. American Airlines can't say, most of our pilots like to land. We just have a few bad apples that like to crash into mountains. Investing in community support, higher accountability, a higher barrier of entry for police officers, and a genuine effort to finally purge police departments of the remnants of white supremacy will all go a long way to restoring the public's trust in the police. Peace.